Hi guys, welcome back or welcome to my channel. Today I am bringing you guys my top 5, I almost went like this, but that would be 10, so it's top 5 favorite high-end palettes that I think are worth your money. These are hands down my favorite high-end palettes that I own. I stand by all of these. I completely recommend them. So yeah, let's not waste any time and just dive into the palettes. So the first one I want to talk about is a cult classic, and that is the Too Faced Chocolate Bar Original Palette. I am a huge fan of the whole Too Faced Chocolate Bar line. I'm just a fan of Too Faced in general. They have quickly become my favorite high-end brand. So I might be a little biased, but I think that all the chocolate bar palettes are amazing palettes, especially the original. I like all of them, but the original is definitely my favorite. I'm sure that you guys have seen this 120 times. But if you haven't, here is what the palette looks like. So a couple of things that I really like about this palette is, first, of course, it is all neutrals, which I love. I love a neutral palette. That's what I wear 99% of the time. So neutral palette, I can't go wrong. But what I also love about this palette is it has certain pops of color that wouldn't necessarily be considered neutrals, but aren't like crazy colors. So if you want to add like a hint of color, you have it in here. So like this beautiful purple color here called Candy Violet. I absolutely love that. Also this really deep maroon color called Cherry Cordial. And then lastly, this deep hunter green color, which is called Gilded Ganache. So I absolutely love this palette. I love the packaging of this palette. I love that it smells like chocolate. You really cannot go wrong with this palette. The one thing that I do have to say is I hate that the names are not printed down below here where you can see them. They do give you an insert that you can keep on top of here that has all the names like that, but I've been tempted to throw this away so many times, but for tutorial purposes and things like that, I want to know the names of the shadows. So I would really like them to be printed, you know, down here so I don't have to like, you know, match this up with that. It's kind of a pain, not the end of the world. Other than that, packaging is great. I know that when this first came out, it was big and chunky and people didn't like it, and then they redid it, and it is really nice and thin now. This is a great travel palette. It's just a great all-around palette. If you buy this, you're not going to be disappointed. And of course, as with all Too Faced shadows, with Too Faced powders, everything, they are creamy, they are buttery, they are pigmented. I will give you a few swatches here of some of the colors. So here they are swatched on the back of my hand. They are gorgeous. This top one here, this gold one, is absolutely stunning. I love that one. So the Too Faced Chocolate Bar palette will forever be one of my tried and true favorites. There is no way you will regret getting this. So if you're on the fence about it, definitely take the plunge. It is amazing. All right, the next one I want to talk about is another Too Faced palette, and this is the Too Faced Natural Matte Palette. So this is totally different from the Chocolate Bar palette for a couple of reasons. First of all, it is about half the size, and then second of all, it is all mattes, which I love. And I also love this one because it has the names of the shadows right under there, so they're super easy to find. I use this palette so much. This is a great travel palette, even though it is all mattes. What I like to do is I'll take this and then I'll take one single shadow, so like a L'Oreal Infallible Pressed Pigment or something like that, something to just go on the lid. Or you don't even need that if you just like matte looks. Like I create looks with just this palette all the time. I reach for this when I don't really know what I want to do. I just want something simple and subtle, and this is just the perfect palette. It's also perfect to use in conjunction with other palettes. Maybe a palette that doesn't have very many mattes or something like that. I think everyone needs this. There's so many uses for this. I will give you guys a couple quick swatches here. I feel like matte shadows are really hard to do. A lot of matte shadows are chalky, and these are just beautiful and very easy to blend and just really easy shadows to work with. Next up is another all matte palette, and this is the Kat Von D Shade and Light Eye Palette. This is another one that I am so in love with. I use this palette all the time. Again, this is a great palette to have by itself if you just want an all matte look, but it's also something you can use in conjunction with other palettes, so I really love that. I also really like this palette because it's set up into 3 quads. So you have your warm tone quad, your cool tone quad, that's hard to say, cool toned quad, and then your neutral toned quad there on the end. You can really accomplish any sort of look that you want with this. I love that it's both warm tones and cool tones, and it doesn't lean more one way or the other. I love that it has the 3 big shadows on the top there. I love that there's a great matte black. Like, this thing is crazy pigmented. All these shadows are so pigmented, outrageously blendable. Like, these shadows are just amazing. You really cannot go wrong with Kat Von D shadows. Like, these swatch better than the Too Faced ones, honestly. They are so stunning. I definitely think that everyone needs this palette. I think that everyone could find a use for this palette. I just think it's a great staple palette to have in your collection. So I would definitely recommend the Kat Von D Shade and Light Eye palette. Alright, and then next up I want to talk about the Tarte Tastiest Pro palette. Now, I just got this for Christmas a few weeks ago and I am already obsessed. I've already created 2 eye looks on my channel with this. One of them is the one I'm wearing on my eyeballs today. I'm not sure if that look will be up before this video. I don't know how in conjunction I'm going to put them up. But if it's already up, I'll link it down below. If it's not up, subscribe, stay tuned. It'll be up soon. And then I also did a first impressions review and swatch video on this palette, which is definitely up already. So I'll link that down below if you're curious. But what I love about this palette is there are 16 mattes and then 4 duochrome shades. I'm a firm believer that you cannot have too many matte shades in a palette. Clearly I love matte shadows, and this really is just the perfect palette for me. Also, the color variety in this, I just feel so inspired when I look at this. It's still neutral, but you also have pops of blue and pops of purple and pops of pink and a great rust color, and just anything you could want is in this palette. There's a matte black. It just literally has everything. I feel so inspired when I look at it. They're so creamy and blendable and easy to work with. I am just so obsessed with this palette. I totally think it is 150% worth the money. This is definitely one that I highly suggest you pick up, especially if you like matte shadows with a few shimmers. It's just perfect. I also like that you can use these rows in conjunction with each other. So they all kind of go together. So like this first row, all these mattes go really good with this shimmery or this duochrome shade on the top row. All these mattes go really well with duochrome on the second row. They just work so well together, and I cannot say enough good things about this palette. So this is one that I definitely think you need in your collection. And last but not least, if you guys have been watching me for a while, you probably know what's coming, and it is the LORAC Pro 3 palette. I have talked about this palette a bajillion times on my channel. You're probably getting tired of hearing about it. I'm sorry. I did a whole first impression review video on this quite a while ago when I first got it. I will link that down below if you're curious. I'm not going to talk about this palette for too much because I've talked about this palette so much on my channel, but in a nutshell, this is my perfect palette. I absolutely love the color selection. I love that there's a row of mattes and a row of shimmers, like all LORAC palettes. All these colors are really creamy and blendable and buttery and just so easy to work with. I just think this is the perfect neutral palette. It doesn't lean too warm toned, it doesn't lean too cool toned. You have a good variety of both. This is the palette I wore on my wedding day. It's just the perfect palette in my opinion. So that's all I'm going to say about it, because I could go on and on about literally all these palettes, but I love it. I think it is amazing. Alright guys, well that wraps up my top 5 favorite high-end palettes. Hopefully this helped you. If maybe you were debating on buying a high-end palette and you weren't sure which one to buy, hopefully maybe this helped you a little bit. Let me know down in the comments below some of your favorite high-end palettes. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on my future videos, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!